I had directed a documentary about Elton in 1995 called Tantrums and Tiaras, and I sort of vowed I would never pick up a camera and film him again. But we felt that the significance of the fact that he was going on his last tour. I mean, I've been with Elton for 30 years, and he's been on the road, consistently, doing what he loves. But the overwhelming call of family was so important. And we talked about it was important at that moment in time to make a statement and capture that historical moment. But we also felt that we wanted to work with the best. We wanted to collaborate with someone who could really help us get the film that we wanted.
Absolutely. That's why we called RJ. Yes, it was a documentary that I didn't really take part in a way, because I'm just seen through archaic film or archival film, and I narrate the film because I use the documentary, the audio autobiography with Alexis Petridis, where I talk to him, and I narrate the film. I really didn't have much to do with the film, but I wanted it to show the difference between being successful when you have no foundation and you're just hurtled into for 5 years of just non-stop work and success, and finding out that you're very empty inside. There's what else is there? And then 47 years later, I come off stage for the last time in America and Dodger Stadium again, where I have the most wonderful life. No sadness, just happiness, family, children, husband, friends, sobriety. It was a hell of a difference, and it's shown in two pieces. What can happen to people who aren't really... I wasn't prepared for the success I had. I loved it, but the back end of it, or the bad side of it, was that all I had was music, and there was nothing else, and no foundation whatsoever. So they captured it brilliantly, and I really didn't have much to do with it. I let them get on with it because I trust him, and I trust him, and I didn't interfere. I wasn't on the phone every day saying, "Can I see this? Can I see that?" I didn't really see it till the first time I saw it was at a preview in Los Angeles. So I didn't meddle.
The film takes place in two time periods. There's the 1970 to 1976, those first, which are really 5 years, that begin with the release of the Elton John album and conclude with Elton's decision to come out to Rolling Stone magazine and the impact that has on his life and career. And during this period, Elton releases in 5 years, 13 albums, 7 of which go to #1. He's the biggest star in the world, and as you've heard him say, he's confronting the fact that he feels a deep emptiness inside, and he's not being his truest self. Another time period is the months leading up to the enactment of his decision to stop touring, because he knows that life is finite, and he wants to make sure that he's spending as much of his remaining years with his family and with his young boys and his husband, because that's what matters most to him. And these two periods, these two that lead to these two monumental decisions, form the spine and the nervous system that wraps around the spine of our film. And this is a decision that we came to the day we met. David said to me, I think we're interested in making a film about Elton's final months. And I said, I've always thought there might be a wonderful film to make about those first 5 years. And this is how we knew that we were kind of meant to work together.
And rather conveniently, Elton coming off stage at Dodger Stadium in '75 was a watershed moment, because he realized he couldn't keep going. He hadn't quite got to '76 yet, but that was like, I can't keep touring. I can't keep doing this to myself. And that was a cry for help. The other bookend is coming off the stage in Dodger Stadium in 2022 and being in a completely different place in life with a different perspective. So those two sort of tent poles were really lovely signposts. And the fact that it was both the same venue with all of that history and iconography and excitement. Elton was the first solo artist to play in a baseball stadium. When he played at Dodgers in '75 for 2 nights, that was record-breaking. And to finish up, Elton said, I want to finish at Dodgers. That was always important to him when we planned the tour. And for the film, it works beautifully.
Some of it actually blew me away because I hadn't seen it, and it was very. I've God, I haven't seen this before. This is incredible. I'm always interested in things that are historical and that one hadn't seen before. I've seen enough stuff of me that I've seen many, 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 many times. But this, some of the stuff I was seeing, was fantastic. I was more interested in that than I was anything else. It was just like, wow, I must have seen everything about myself. Surely, no, I hadn't.
There was processed footage, and when we processed it, there was Elton John recording "Candle in the Wind" for in the studio recording. I mean, this was astounding. In the archives of the New York Public Library, we found Cliff Jar and Elton's interview when Elton comes out to Rolling Stone magazine. The audio of it. Nobody knew that audio existed, and then it turned out that there were unprocessed still photographs as well, so we could recreate that. Elton and David had in their archive the entire performance of John Lennon at Madison Square Garden. There was just an incredible amount of never before seen footage, even from the original Dodger Stadium, the Pinball Wizard. Everybody's seen Benny and the Jets from that show, but I don't think anybody had ever seen the Pinball Wizard performance, which is amazing. So these things.
For me, it was hearing the Cliff Jar audio tape and then the photographs of Elton in the room. Again, we found unprocessed photographs, and Elton had told me in little snippets about, the moment when he said, "Should I switch off the tape recorder?" And he says, "No, you can keep it going." That was all I knew about that interview. But to actually see all the stuff that Elton talked about around it, for me, the biggest surprise was when he said, "I'd love to have kids." Because when I met Elton in 1993, he didn't think his life there was room for children. He thought, my life is very big. I'm, on the road all the time. I'm always working. I don't think I want to have children. I don't think I should have children. And it wasn't until later on in our relationship. But it was quite heartwarming to me to think that back in '76, at that much earlier stage in Elton's life, he wanted to have children. So it's great when life kind of brings you back to what you hope for, and it actually is able to happen. That for me, the thing I'm proudest of in our life is our sons. So the fact that we have that moment revealed is quite powerful for me.
I don't remember after the John Lennon concert in Madison Square going into the bathroom and crying and sitting in the bath, but apparently I did. That I had to ask Tony King, who is one of my best friends and who was with me at that time, is that true? And he said, absolutely. My favorite piece of footage in the film, for some reason, is when the boys FaceTime me and I'm in the studio doing
Hold Me Closer.
Hold Me Closer with the Britney Spears record. And also when David and I are putting together our rocket out, and I'm interviewing the Linda Lindas, and I finish and I'm saying, God almighty, I think I'm 64 years older than the Linda Lindas drummer, and I just think that's so funny. I've seen it 3 times now, and I pick up little things, but the things that make me happiest are the ones with my family in it, to be honest with you.
We were editing for a little over a year. And the original cuts are always somewhere in the 3.5 hour range. One of the wonderful things about co-directing was that you don't often have somebody. You work in the edit room and then you work in the edit room. In our process, we worked in the edit room. We sent it back and forth. We talked about it. There was this great extra layer that was process and discovery. So, and we worked in acts, really. So, there was a lot of footage. There was a lot to work with. There was a tremendous amount of archive. Elton, as you know, has led an incredibly rich life. There are chapters and movies to be told about so many other things in his life. There's a whole movie to make about Watford, about Elton's relationship with the football club that is so moving and so wonderful and so rich. And let's talk about it for the next one. But
there's the plug.
There you go.
I mean, the thing about Dodger Stadium the first time, yes, I was exhausted. But the only way forward was to keep making music and not staying in my room and taking drugs all the time. But music saved me. It also nearly killed me. But I never, even when I was at my lowest ebb, I always played music when I was, and it moved me. So music's been my savior throughout my whole life. And for me, that's accurately portrayed. The personal side is just what it is. I mean, the fact that I narrate it, as I said, is the best thing because it's the truth. I don't like talking head documentaries. I know they're necessary when somebody's died, because but I'm so glad there's none of that in my movies. These two, it's the truth that comes out. It's coming from me. And so you can't get more truthful than that. You can't get more honest than that. And for that, I'm entirely grateful for these two for doing that.
I'll say, I remember when we started working with the Alexis Petridis tapes and that Elton's referring to, and I sent an early edit to David, and David called me so moved, and he said, you know, I've heard this voice from Elton. I've heard him talk in this voice, but I don't think other than Alexis anybody else has. The level of intimacy that we were able to achieve as a result of that is, you know.
I don't think we would have got 1/10 of the rawness and the honesty that we got from him sitting, you know, with just a tape recorder between him and Alexis, basically
Talking about my life. Yeah.
and Alexis knowing the places to probe in terms of, you know, the historical parts of your career. But, you know, Alexis is one of your best friends. You speak to him almost every day, and you trust him implicitly. And the whole point of the book was you just, you know, you wanted to be completely honest, and you were just relaxed in yourself in the way that I hear you talk all the time. So it really does give the film an incredible resonance, I think.
I hope so. I mean, I hope I've encouraged people to be themselves. It was, I was never, you know, there was never a conundrum about coming out to Chris Joe. I mean, I lived with my manager. I was going openly to gay bars. The whole industry knew I was gay. The public didn't. So it was not really, it was a relief to be able to say, yeah, that's it. Come on, keep the tape recorder going. If you're in a position like I am, or have been in a position like I am, of being famous and having an incredibly wonderful and privileged life, it's your job to try and pass information forward to people who need it, whether it's sexuality or injustice or whatever. It's your job not to pontificate, no way. I would never tell an audience how to vote. I would never tell an audience what religion they should be, but to help people who have problems, and if I can encourage them to tackle those problems, whether it's alcoholism, sexuality, or whatever, then I have a responsibility to do that. But I don't have a responsibility to pontificate. And I've always tried to rein that in. But I do love helping people, and that comes down to young musicians. If people need help, I'm usually on the phone. And that's what I've been able to do with my success. And it's one of the great rewards of being successful is to help people.